Oh, hey there. So, we're talking about the Beatitudes, and the eighth one says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness. Now look, there's lots of us that are persecuted because of bad things we've done, and we deserve that. And it's easy to go, well, I didn't deserve it that much. And you're like, okay, that's fair. And then you fight and you try to prove that you're right or whatever. Then there are other people that are persecuted for righteousness. And Jesus himself says, theirs is the kingdom of heaven. You're blessed when this happens. Because guess what? You're in good company. You know who else got persecuted for righteousness? All the prophets before, all the saints before, all the martyrs before, and Jesus himself, the Son of God, all were persecuted for righteousness. They weren't persecuted for doing anything wrong. They weren't persecuted because they committed some crime. They were persecuted because they stood up for what was right, because they wouldn't turn their back on God when God wouldn't turn their back on them. They stood up and did the right thing. Now, I want to give you one example, okay? When I went to Turkey and Greece, we took Paul's second journey, and we went through all the places where Paul wrote letters. So I don't know if you know this, but Galatians, Philippians, Ephesians, Colossians, all those are cities, okay? There's Ephesus, and that's Paul wrote the letter to the Ephesians is people that live in Ephesus, right? Or the Corinthians was people that live in Corinth, and so on and so forth. Now, in Ephesus, there was John the Apostle, okay? So of the 12 disciples, one of them was Judas, and he hung himself and he died. And then they replaced him. And then all of those 12 were martyred across time, except for John, okay? And John was the disciple that Jesus loved. And when Jesus was on the cross, he was the only one there. And he looked down at John at the foot of the cross, and he looked at his mother, Mary, and he said, "Woman, behold your son. John, behold your mother." What he was saying is, take care of my mom. I'm not going to be here. I need you to take care of my mom for me. And so he did. And he went to Ephesus and he did that. Now, while he was in Ephesus, and I went to the Colosseum where this happened, eventually they took him and they brought him in front of 20,000 people. And the leaders were like, "You need to deny Jesus. We heard you're a Christian." He goes, "Well, you're right. I am a Christian, and you're wrong. I'm not going to deny Jesus." And they're like, "We're going to boil you in oil." And he's like, "Well, that sounds unpleasant, but do what you got to do, because I will never deny Jesus." So I don't know if you've ever had a grease burn, but it sounds highly unpleasant to me. I've had several grease burns, and the thought of being deep fried in oil sounds horrible to me. And I've been burned badly, and it sounds horrible to me. But while they're lowering him down into boiling oil, he's got his hands raised up. He is singing praise to God. He is asking for their forgiveness, the people that are persecuting him and the people that are killing him for doing the right thing. He's asking that God forgive them. Don't hold this against them. And then he's singing songs of praise, and he's ready to go home to heaven. And then you know what happens? Several minutes pass, and he's boiling in oil, and he's still got his hands raised, and he's still asking for their forgiveness, that God would forgive them. And he's still singing songs, and he is not dead. And the crowd starts to turn, and they're like, "We've seen this before, and this guy should be dead, but we haven't seen this before, because that guy should be dead." And so all of a sudden, the people in charge are like, "Get him out of here." And so they did. And they exiled him to the island of Patmos. And, you know, while he was there, he ended up writing the book of Revelation. He also wrote the Gospel of John and 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. Okay, so that's who we're talking about. Eventually, that leader died, and he came back to Ephesus once again to help take care of Mary, the mother of Jesus. And eventually, they came to him again and said, "Time to go to the Colosseum, buddy." And he's like, "Huh?" And they're like, "Yeah, we heard you're a Christian." He's like, "That's not a secret." And like, "Well, it's time to be persecuted again for your faith, for doing the right thing." And so they bring him there, same place, same Colosseum where I was, and same story. "You need to deny Jesus." He's like, "Absolutely not." And they're like, "We're going to force you to drink poison." He's like, "That sounds unpleasant." And once again, he's asking for, God to forgive them and praising God and whatever. He drinks the poison. And as you can imagine, once again, he does not die. Okay. And after a while, they're like, this is the same dude that we boil in oil. Remember that? And they're all like looking through the stuff like, no, they're right. That's the same guy. Like, we can't kill him. Don't ever try to kill him again. Let's leave this guy alone. And then they did. John had a disciple named Polycarp, okay? So some time passes and they bring Polycarp to the same Colosseum where I was. And same story. They're like, hey, buddy, we heard you're a Christian. He's like, no kidding. And they're like, all you got to do is deny Christ and then we'll let you live. And he's all like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. And they're like, look, you don't have to mean it, okay? Like, we like you. They said this. They said, we like you. We think you're a good guy. You're great for the community. Just deny Christ. Like, what difference does it make? We don't care. Like, just do it. It's just a legality. Like, who cares? And he goes, let me be clear, okay? Jesus has been good to me these 80 years. And if you think that at the last of my life, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to deny him whether or not I mean it, you're insane. I will never deny Jesus. It will never happen, okay? And let's be honest here. I'm an old man and I'm kind of tired. So if you're going to kill me, then kill me. And if you're not, could I please go home because I'm tired? And they're like, we're going to kill you. And he goes, I figured. We're going to burn you at the stake. He goes, well, let's get this over with then. And he goes, it's okay. God told me in a dream recently that I was going to die like this, and I've made my peace, and I'm going home. And they're like, we're going to nail you to the stake. And they made this a wooden pole, and they had all this firewood at the bottom of it. And they were like, we're going to nail you to this thing. And he goes, you don't have to. And they go, yeah, you're going to try to run as soon as that fire starts. He goes, no, I won't. I don't have any fear of you, and I don't have any fear of death. I'm going home. I'm going home to heaven. I'm going to close my eyes here, and I'm going to look past this pain, and on the other side of that is heaven. And they're all like, all right, but if you try to run, we're going to kill you. And he goes, as opposed to how you're going to kill me now? Like, yeah. So they start the fire. And same story. He's got his hands raised up. He's asking that God forgive these people. He's singing songs of praise, and he's ready to go home to heaven. He's just like, I can't wait. And these people are like, oh, that's weird. And then several minutes pass while he's in the fire. And I've been burned badly by a fire before. Like, I've burned my feet badly. And he's in the middle of this fire, and he's still got his hands raised up, asking for God to forgive them, singing songs of praise, and ready to go home to heaven. And they're like, how is he not dead? And then they go, hey, remember that dude, John? I'm like, yeah. Remember how we tried to boil him in oil and he didn't die? And then remember we tried to poison him and he didn't die? I'm like, yeah. Well, that's his friend over there. And they're like, finish it. We don't want this to happen again. And so because he wasn't dying, they ran him through with a spear, and he did die, okay? But they said that when he died, his burning body didn't smell like death. It smelled like bread being baked. It smelled like incense, like a holy offering towards God. And it said that the pagans to this day still speak of the death of Polycarp. These people, and many other like them, are my heroes. When I see these stories, when I hear about these stories, I just think, I hope that I have the courage when my time comes to do that. And the truth is that if you think that you can live your life and deny Jesus in a million different ways through your life, and then when it comes to your life or death, that you're going to all of a sudden do that, you're wrong. Martyrdom is a way of life. It means that I will sacrifice today and tomorrow and every day until my time comes, so that when it does come, I will be strong and courageous, and they will not shake me, right? Because it says, blessed are you who are persecuted because of righteousness, because yours is the kingdom of God. And I want to be counted in that number. I want the people that have gone before me to come and welcome me and be proud and go, you did it right. And I want you to be there too. Love you guys.